Okay, today we're going to be talking about writing polynomials in standard form and then also writing them when you're given the solutions. So this is page 19, and we'll write it in our table of contents tomorrow. So the first is when you have polynomials and they're in the factored form. So we factored them this week, and now we're just going to undo that. So to do that, you just FOIL and then simplify, combine your like terms, and write it from biggest exponent to smallest exponent, and that is standard form. So in this first one, we just want to distribute this x squared to both the x and the 5. So that'll be x to the third plus 5x squared. And so then, changing something. So then we look at this, we have an x to the third, we have an x squared, we don't have any like terms, it's from biggest to smallest, so we're done, that's it. So number 2, we have that x minus 2 squared. So anytime you have addition or subtraction in a parentheses and it's squared, you have to write it twice. So if we do that, that'll be y equals x, and then x minus 2, x minus 2. So it doesn't matter which one you multiply first. You can do the parentheses first, you can distribute the x either way. If we distribute the x though, it saves us a little bit of time. So you distribute it just to the first parenthesis. So then that becomes x squared minus 2x. And then x minus 2. So then we multiply these. So x squared times x is x to the third. X squared times negative 2 is negative 2x squared. And then move on to the negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. And then negative 2 times negative 2x times negative 2 is positive 4x. So then we do have some like terms here. We have our x squareds, so we can go ahead and combine those. So y equals x to the third minus 4x squared plus 4x. And then we don't have any more like terms. We're in order from biggest to smallest, so that's it. So then number 3, again, all we have to do on this one is just multiply. Doesn't matter if you do the first 2 parentheses, the second 2 parentheses. Either way, you'll get the same answer. So I'm just going to multiply my first 2 parentheses, which will give me x squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 10. And then bring down the x plus 6. If you go ahead and combine like terms, it makes it a little bit easier. So we get x squared minus 3x minus 10 times x plus 6. And so then we can go ahead and FOIL this one. It is pretty big, so bear with me. So we go x squared times x gives us x to the third plus 6x squared. Then move on to the negative 3. So negative 3x squared minus 18x. Then looking at the 10, negative 10x, and then minus 60. So then we have a whole bunch of like terms here. We just have 1x cubed, so we can bring it down. And then 6x squared minus 3x squared will be 3x squared. Negative 18 minus 10 will be negative 28. X minus 60. And that's it. So if you need to pause the video here, do that. And I'm going to figure out what I need to do. I think it's going to go away. So pause it here if you need to. So I don't know how else to move this thing. Okay, you guys can still see me. Alright, good. Slight freak out. Don't worry. I think I need to save this. It's been a while. Okay. Now let's look down here at the bottom. Okay, so when you are writing the polynomial and you have the zeros, what you do is you turn each zero into a factor. So as we've been solving, when we had, like, for example, x minus 5, when we solved it, we got x equals 5. So what we're doing today is we're just going the other way. So if our 0 is 5, our factor is x minus 5. So when you turn these into factors, then you'll just multiply them like what we just did at the top. And then we simplify. The only thing you have to keep in mind is if you have an I. So when you have an I, you always have the positive and the negative. Because anytime you're doing an I, you always have the plus or minus. Whether it's taking the square root like we did, or doing the quadratic formula. You always have plus or minus. So just keep that in mind as we're doing this. So if we look at the first one, our zeros are positive 3 and positive 4. So if we turn those into factors, then our factors would be minus 3, x minus 3, and x minus 4. And then we just FOIL that out like we were doing before. So x squared minus 4x minus 3x plus 12. And then combine like terms gives us x squared minus 7x plus 12. And that's it. So I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice already, so let's just set up these next ones as factors, and then you can multiply them on your own. So in this one we have 1, 4, and negative 5. So if 1 is our solution, x minus 1 is the factor. If 4 is the solution, x minus 4 is the factor. And if negative 5 is the solution, x plus 5 is the factor. And then same thing on 3, we've got negative 10, so that'll be x plus 10. We've got negative 2, so x plus 2. And then positive 7 is x minus 7. And so then all you do is you multiply these out just like what we did in that last example up at the top. Doesn't matter which two you FOIL first, you just multiply them out, simplify, and then multiply again. Again, if you need to pause it here, do that. And I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so then these last two, we are looking at when you have an I. So like I said, when you have 2i, you also have negative 2i every single time. So we might have, it gives us 2i, but then we also need negative 2i. So then our factors would be x minus 2i and x plus 2i. And that is every single time that you have an I. Okay, let me use that. So then, we want to FOIL just like what we've been doing. So x times x is x squared x times 2i is just 2ix, and then negative 2i times x is negative 2ix, and negative 2i times positive 2i is negative 4, and then I squared. So hopefully the first thing that you notice is that our two ix's cancel out. That should always happen, guys. So those ix terms will always cancel out because you'll always have one that's positive and one that's negative. But then the other thing that's kind of strange is this I squared. And so you might say, well, the heck, we've never talked about that. Which, hopefully, in Math 2, you learned that I was the square root of negative 1. So if we were to square both of these sides, then that square root would cancel. And so I squared equals negative 1. So anytime you see an I squared, that's the same thing as saying negative 4 times negative 1. Every single time. And again, in these problems, that should always happen. You should never have any i's at the end. They should either cancel or be an I squared, and so that becomes negative 1. So then that leaves me with x squared, and then negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. And then that's it. We don't have anything else to combine, so we're done. Okay, so in our last one we have negative 3 and 4i. Again, anytime you have the I, you also have the negative 4i. So if we make those factors, we'll have x plus 3, x minus 4i, and x plus 4i. And so then again we want to FOIL this out. You always want to start with the i's because like we saw in the last one, they have to cancel out. So I'm going to leave that x plus 3 to the end. So if we FOIL this, we'll have x squared plus 4ix minus 4ix, and then minus 16i squared. My iPad's about to die, so I'm going to go quick, but if you need to run through this again, do it as many times as you need to. So we can cancel out our 4ix's, and then again we said that I squared becomes negative 1. So 16 times negative 1 is positive 16. So then I get x plus 3 times x squared plus 16. And then we just FOIL this one. So that'll give us x to the third plus 16x plus 3x squared plus 3 times 16 is 48. So in this one we don't have any like terms, but we do want to write it in standard form. So biggest exponent to smallest. So x to the third plus 3x squared plus 16x plus 48. And that's it.